What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, happy Sunday. The time has finally arrived. We will have a new national champion today. Or will we have a return to last year's champion? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out very, very soon because today is National Championship Day and I am so absolutely excited about it, and I hope y'all are as well. Guys, welcome to Quita in the Mornings. My name is Quita. We are in the mornings and we're talking about some women's hoops. And it's about to be fun. It's about to be fun. Looks like y'all are already getting after it in the chat. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it because yeah. First of all, this is gonna be an epic game. We have UConn versus South Carolina, two of the powerhouse teams in the country, coached by two of the best coaches in the country, featuring some of the best players in the country. Guys, I am excited about this game. I think this is going to be a very, very close game. I think this is going to be a game that is going to be a down to the wire game, a game that we are going to talk about for years and years and years to come. And I just hope y'all are ready for some awesome action. Okay, because we have South Carolina, coached by Don Staley, right? This is a team that does not have that signature dominant big because they do it by committee. And in the Final Four game, it was all about Joyce Edwards doing her thing. But this team, the reason why South Carolina is an elite team, the reason why is not because they have a single star, because they don't. This is a team that collectively gets the job done. There are some times where it is Joyce Edwards. She is the leading scorer for the team, but there's sometimes that she is the absolute star, right? There are other times where it is all about my Lasia Full Wiley, who is just shaking and baking and doing all this fun stuff, right? There are times where it is Chloe Kitts who is showing up and showing out for South Carolina. There are other times where it's Tina Pow. This team, the reason why South Carolina is great is because they don't have just one single great player. They have a collection of players who do their role really, really well and get the job done. Also, guys, this is a team that is very disciplined. They're disciplined on defense, and they listen to their coach. And so it's gonna be a chess match, really, between what Dawn is set up to do with her team and what Gino is set to do with his team. And let's actually talk about Gino and UConn. This is a UConn squad that is fully healthy. And they are what they were built to be when Paige Bueckers first got drafted. When Paige Bueckers first got drafted, when Paige Bueckers was a rookie and went to UConn, there was a lot of hype around her, right? This girl from Minnesota, she is fire. She can knock down shots like that. She is a great leader for your team and yada yada, lots of stuff. And she lived up to the hype. She lived up to the hype by winning the Player of the Year. Like, she was fantastic as a freshman. But then the injury started. And while Paige Bueckers would be an elite player, there was rarely a time where everybody for UConn was healthy. All of the really good players for UConn was healthy. This was a team that endured a whole bunch of stuff. But now, Paige is healthy. AZ Fudd is healthy. And with those two players healthy, this team is rocking and rolling because you have the number one draft pick in Paige Bueckers leading the charge. But the thing about it, and the thing I love about what this UConn team has done, and specifically Paige Bueckers, is this is a team that this whole year, Paige Bueckers has deferred to. During the year, especially early on in the year, there was this whole thing about, oh, Paige Beckers is being too passive. Paige is not shooting the basketball. She's passing so much. Paige is she doesn't want to shoot. She just wants to pass. She wants to just get her teammates involved. And that was seen by some people as a negative thing. Like, oh, that's why Paige Beckers isn't great, because she's not shooting the ball like that. She's just passing to her teammates and yada, yada. Even though Paige Beckers was shooting very efficiently when she did shoot, it was one of those things where that was seen as a con about her being too passive and her not wanting to take that final shot, her not wanting to sort of be that dog that we know she is. That was seen as a con throughout the year. But I would argue that was a strategy to get this team here. That was a strategy, guys. Here's the deal, guys. Paige Beckers is insanely smart and is a fantastic leader and teammate. I would argue that this entire season, Paige Beckers' ultimate goal was to build up her team. It was to build up the confidence of a Ashlyn Shade. It was to build up the confidence of a KK Arnold, of a Kaylin Chen, of a Janet Alfie. It was to build up the confidence of a Sarah Strong. It was all about, no, you take it. You take it. You got that shot. You got it. And Paige, in a lot of ways, deferring to her teammates. Because if you are building up your teammates and giving and basically saying during the year, no, I trust you. You got that. You got that shot. And deferring to her teammates. Yeah, sure. Did that hurt overall Paige's numbers and whatnot? Yeah, sure. But it wasn't about that. It was, in my opinion, this was about her building up her teammates, her building their confidence, her building that muscle memory in them that I can do X, Y, and Z, and the best player in the country is deferring to me. You know what I'm saying? And I think that has helped us to get here. Because we see this UConn team as a full team. Yes, Paige Beckers is the star, but this is not USC. This is not Notre Dame. This is not UCLA that is so bent on one player that everybody else does not develop fully as much as they need to during the year. Paige Beckers is crazy unselfish. She's a great leader. And through the decisions that she has made throughout this year, has led, yeah, sure, Paige to average 20 points a game. Could she have averaged 26, 27 throughout the year? Yes. But she chose not to, in my opinion. You got Paige Beckers averaging 20 points a game. You got Sarah Strong, the freshman phenom, whose mother was an elite basketball player. She averaging 16.2 points a game. AZ Fudd, 13.3. Ashlyn Shade doing her thing at 7.8. Kaylin Chen, 7.1. And even KK Arnold, who does not score a lot of points, can have big games. And we've seen it. Janet Alfie is someone who is not averaging a whole bunch of points. However, she has shown up big time defensively. We've seen that. We saw that in the last game against UCLA. My point is, this is a squad that is not reliant on one or two players, right? It's all, sure. Number one, you always got to focus on Paige, and you always got to focus on AZ Fudd, because AZ Fudd is fantastic also. this is not a team like a Notre Dame that is not on one player. The team was focused on two primarily, and at times three, with Hannah and Olivia, and then at sometimes Hannah, Olivia, and Sonia. Right? This was not a team that was just focused on just Paige. It was focused on everybody, and that's because it seemed like Paige actively deferred to her teammates and played crazy unselfish throughout the year. Now, this is not one of those things where I'm like, oh my goodness, Paige Beckers is so amazing. She's great. But the reason why I'm saying this is because that's what I saw. That's what I've seen this entire year. And I wanted to sort of like speak on it in a way that sort of gives like a full circle look at how this year has gone. This is not to gas Paige Beckers up. I do think, though, this was a great strategy. And I really do think it was a strategy. Now, is all that build up of her teammates and all that stuff, is that ultimately going to equal out into a championship? Who knows? Because here's the deal. This is a really good team in UConn going against a really good team in South Carolina. This is why these two teams kind of easily beat the competition in the Final Four, because South Carolina was a team playing against a team that centered primarily around one player in Madison Booker for the Final Four. And UConn was a team going against a UCLA squad that was all focused pretty much solely around Lauren Betts. But now, the two powerhouse squads, the two that play together, the two teams that you just don't know any day who it might be. It may be AZ Foot, who is knocking shots left and right, knocking down shots left and right. It could be Paige Beckers. It could be Sarah Strong. It could be Mylasia Fulwiley. It could be Chloe Kitts. It could be Joyce Edwards. We don't know. That is the thing that I absolutely love. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens today. All right. That's my talk about the championship games that's happening today. Guys, I will not be live for it. I will not be live for that game. So that's something to note. I will not be live for it. I have to work, but I will be working and also rocking out with what specifically is happening in the game and whatnot. I'll be watching it, but I can't go live for it. And then after it's over, I will probably around 5 or 6 p.m. today, I will actually do a live stream where we cover the game. But the game starts today on ESPN and whatnot, and that game is at 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Central time. So I will not be live for the game. Okay. All right. Now let's get to the theme of the day. So, and also the game is on ABC and ESPN. So if you have ABC, it's on there. 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Central time. All right. Now, let's go to the theme of the day. So, guys, you all may have noticed that I have called this stream the elephant in the room. And in the thumbnail, I have included 3 photos. I've included a photo of Caitlyn Clark. I've included a photo of Hannah Hidalgo. And I've included a photo of Dawn Staley. Those photos were intentional. They were intentional for a reason, because there are some things that I want to talk about, some elephants in the room that I want to talk about involving those 3 individuals. All right? So we'll go Caitlyn first, then Dawn Staley, then Hannah Hidalgo. Okay? All right. Okay, so what I want to talk about here is actually in relation to ratings. Okay? Ratings in the college game and how this year is different from previous years. Okay? Okay. So, let's first start with 2023. Okay? Let's talk about 2023. And 2023 saw huge gains in terms of viewership. Record-breaking numbers. Record-breaking numbers for the women's Final Four for the championship game. We saw huge numbers, right? Now this is like a graphic that ESPN made specifically for the Final Four, right? So for the Final Four in 2023, we saw these numbers. We saw 5.5 million viewers, 5.5 million viewers for South Carolina versus Iowa. Okay? And we saw the numbers go up 72% from the previous year, 72% from 2022. And then for the other game, we saw 3.4 million viewers for LSU versus Virginia Tech. So in total, we saw an average of 4.5 viewers for the Final Four in 2023. All right, so I want to keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. 5.5 million viewers for Iowa versus South Carolina. 3.4 million viewers for LSU versus Virginia Tech. Huge numbers. Overall, huge numbers for that year, and it was a record at the time. Then we fast forward. We fast forward from 2023 to 2024. And in 2024, we see some huge numbers again. We see in the Final Four, which is what they call the semifinals. We saw a huge jump, 14.2 million viewers. 14.2 million viewers for UConn versus Iowa. And we saw 7.1 million viewers for NC State versus South Carolina. Huge numbers for the Final Four. Now again, remember, in 2023, that was only 5.5 and 3.4. We go into 2024, it is 4.2 and 7.1. Total, 10.8 million viewers. This was 138% increase year over year. What is the common denominator? Iowa. And what specifically are people wanting to see? Caitlyn Clark. Obvious, right? Okay. All right. Let's continue on. Then we have the actual championship game, which we'll see what this year's championship game, then we have the championship game, which had a lot of views as well. But again, I am focused specifically. I am focused on the Final Four. All right. So overall, huge numbers last year. It is because of Iowa, and it is because of Caitlyn Clark. That's an obvious thing. All right. Now let's continue on. And let's get to the point I am trying to make. Because guys, I am trying to lead us somewhere, and it takes a bit of time to get there also. Okay. Now we go into this year. And we look at the numbers, right? We look at the numbers for this year. For the first round for this NCAA championship for the first round this year, we saw the second most consumed first round on record, right? We saw a lot of viewers, and you can see specifically what the viewership numbers are. Huge numbers when it comes to people watching the first round of the tournament. And huge numbers when it comes to people watching the second round of the tournament. The comparison, the reason why it's the second most consumed and the second most watched is because the first was in 2024. 2024 was a crazy big number, a big year for the game of women's basketball. All right. And now, while this year is doing absolutely fantastic, it doesn't compare to 2024. Which is why you see on ESPN stats, they're actually not comparing it to 2024. They're comparing it to 2023. All right? Because like the second round, it says second most watched, second round on record, up 60% from 2023. Not 2024. There's a reason for that. Okay. Then we look at the Sweet 16. Sweet 16. Same thing. Second most watched Sweet 16 on record. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. 1.7 million viewers. Awesome. Up 39% from 2023. Fan-freaking-tastic. It's great. Then we see the Elite 8. Second most watched Elite 8 on record. Right? 2.9 million viewers on average. Up 34% from 2023. Fan-freaking-tastic. It's great. Great. Huge numbers for the women's game this year. Then we look at the Final Four. That just happened on Friday. All right? This is the third most watched NCAA Final Four since 1995. It's fantastic. All right? Where we saw 3.6 million viewers to watch South Carolina versus Texas, and 4.1 million viewers to watch, UCLA and UConn. Now, these are on average, right? On average. Third most watched. The number one most watched was 2024. And the second most watched was 2023. Right? So again, 2023 Final Four. 2024 Final Four. 2025 Final Four. The reason why I am talking about this, the reason why I had the thumbnail the way I did is to lead us to this point. So here's what I want to say. It is both and when it comes to women's basketball. What is one of those things that everybody sees, but when people mention it, it's a whole bunch of stuff that people are saying. It's you're like, people are mad at you for talking about it. And they have all these different takes and all this stuff that's happening. Because this is one of those things where like only certain people can say certain stuff and other people can't. Now, let's talk. 2023 and 2024, in a lot of ways, were outliers. They were outliers in women's basketball in terms of the numbers that we saw in the tournament, especially in the Final Four. And the reason why is because of Caitlyn Clark in large ways. Now, was she the only draw? No, I don't believe that. But she was the greatest draw. That is something that can be proven through the numbers. Now, what I am not saying is that the quality of the women's basketball game went down since 2023 and 2024, because it didn't. The quality of the game continues to go up. The impact of the game continues to go up. These ladies are crazy, crazy talented. But I think we all do have to admit that there is a specific draw that we had in 2023 and 2024. And it was Caitlyn. The numbers bear that out. We look at 2023 numbers, and you can say that part of that We could say that part of that is the idea that it was South Carolina versus a big big time school, right? Or South Carolina, who is a big time school, going against a sort of up and coming team like a Iowa. You could say that. You could say that. Or in 2024, you can say the reason why 14.2 million people watched is because they wanted to see Paige Beckers, who was finally healthy, do her thing. And yeah, there's truth to that. You can say that as well. Absolutely. Was Paige Beckers a draw in the Final Four to watch that? Yeah, sure. But you also have to admit that the biggest draw was Caitlyn. That's that. And for this year, there was a gigantic difference in numbers. Now, part of that was because these games were not crazy competitive throughout the entirety of the game. Part of that was the fact that the UCLA versus UConn game was absolutely over in the first quarter. And so some people heard about it and maybe was going to tune in later and was like, forget it, it's over, I'm not watching. That could absolutely be the case. That could absolutely be the case. Whereas last year's games were kind of nail biters, especially that Iowa versus UConn game, right? It was a lot of intensity around that game, especially as the game went on, right? You could say that. The overall reason that I am talking about this is because, yes, this year's numbers are not as good as last year's numbers. There are some who are saying that this is proof that the WNBA, women's college basketball, everything sucks without Caitlyn Clark. That, I don't believe that's true. And I want to talk through that. And there are other people who are intentionally just trying to ignore everything. They're trying to ignore everything about 2024 and basically say that women's college basketball is at another level this year. I think there is a middle. Yes, 2024 was amazing. Amazing numbers. Fan-freaking-tastic. But. The thing to remember about women's basketball is that it is not just on one person. Yes, Caitlyn Clark was a huge boon to women's basketball. Absolutely. And as a longtime women's basketball fan, I love that. I'm excited about that. That's great. But women's basketball is not just one player. Women's basketball is a mix of everybody, right? And this year, we have seen some fantastic games. We've seen, really awesome numbers. We've seen great stuff. Is it as good as 2024? No, it's not. And actually, I think that's fine. And the reason why I think that's fine is because we have still continued to see a overall growth in the game of women's basketball. And we're still seeing numbers that are growing. Sure. It's important to recognize the awesomeness of what 2024 was. Facts. But I don't think it's fair to the game of women's basketball. I don't think it's fair to compare everything to 2024 and say because the Final Four didn't bring out 14 million people to watch the game on average, that means that the game went down. That means that the game sucks. That means that the game is over. That's not That's not right. I don't believe that that is ultimately the way we should be going. And man, yeah, some of y'all are going crazy in this chat. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. Some of y'all are absolutely wild. All right, let's get some of y'all chats. Cuz I don't know. I don't know if all of y'all are like fully getting what I'm trying to say. Dwayne says, "Don't become biased, please love your channel." What is considered bias? It's both and. Yes, last year was an inflection point in the game of women's basketball. Yes, it was in large part, not solely, but in large part because of the fandom around Caitlyn Clark. This year's numbers are not the same. My point is that is okay because we have seen an overall upward trend in the game of women's basketball and the viewership of the game of women's basketball. Because yes, we're seeing comparisons to 2020 we're seeing comparisons to 2023, right? This year, the second most consumed first round on record. Of course, not as big as 2024, but huge numbers. Huge leap overall for the game of women's basketball. We saw the second most watched second round on record. Again, not compared to last year, but still crazy, huge numbers. Right? We are seeing really good numbers when it comes to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, second most on record. Of course, does not hit 2024, but we are still up. I think that's what I am trying to say. What I am trying to say is you had women's basketball on like a steady, somewhat climb. Sometimes it went down a little bit, but like steady climb. And then 2024 was huge. 2025 is down here. It's still better than, we're still higher up on the ladder. But yes, not as good as 2024, but still really, really great. And what I'm trying to say, it is still something that we should celebrate. That is what I am trying to say. Yes, it is not as good as 2024. However, that's still okay because we're still way up than what we would have been before. And as fans continue to get to know players and all that jazz, it continues to go up from there. Okay. Hopefully my point makes sense. Disfan9212 says, thanks so much for the super chat. Says this is giving me a Tennessee versus UConn rivalry back in the day. Hope Paige gets her championship and ring. Yeah, this definitely is Tennessee versus UConn vibes, kind of. It's gonna take a couple more years, I think, to really solidify that. But yeah, I think so. JJ, thank you so much for the super chat. Really do appreciate your support. That's my point. Okay? That is my point. All right? Jesper from Marie says, makes sense. Wendy says, thank you, Quita, for the way you run your show. You're very honest and never choose sides. Thoroughly enjoy listening to. I appreciate it. But sometimes I feel like, maybe I do take a little bit, time to never mind. Anyway, I think I'll move on. Because it seems like some of y'all are like really, really getting what I'm saying. But yeah. My volume is low? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Let's continue on. Let's talk about ESPN and Don Staley. All right, next topic. All right, ESPN and Don Staley. So yesterday, Don Staley had a press conference interview before the championship game, which always happens, right? The coaches and some of the star players, they have an opportunity to talk to the coach and the players about what's going on, right? So the media asks various questions, and then from those questions, various articles get written, right? To try to get clicks, try to get views, and to ultimately try to get more people to be engaged with what's happening for the championship game, right? And ESPN posted this on X. This is they were trying to get people to go to the website to listen to specifically what they wanted to send people to the website to specifically read the article around what Don Staley said. All right. And in my opinion, they misconstrued what Don Staley said in order to get people to click and engage with them. So here is what ESPN wrote. ESPN wrote, Don Staley says narrative around Paige Bueckers and her quest to win a title has overshadowed South Carolina's feats. And that's not what that was. So I listened to the whole thing. That was not the vibe I got from what Don Staley said. And I'm going to play it for us. I'm going to play it for all of us to listen to it together. I'm going to play it. Because Don Staley saw that and was like, lies, fix your headline, please. Because she never said that Paige Bueckers overshadowed, she never overshadowed what South Carolina was doing. So, yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me just take a quick second to address this thing real quick. We gonna hop off this topic real quick, and we gonna come right back because what? Okay. As I do these streams, I'm reading. I'm trying to read. I'm skimming the comments, and I'm just like, okay. So Jackie, to answer your question, Jackie says, Quita, are you getting paid on the side to boost Caitlyn Clark? Girl, you are good, but you are not speaking facts. Jackie, no, I don't. And if I was going to ride Caitlyn Clark's coattails, I would have way more subscribers, way more viewers. I say what I think. And if you don't like it, it is what it is. But no one, literally no one, is paying me to say anything. If you disagree, that's fine. Absolutely fine. And also, please listen to the full point that I'm trying to make. What I find a little bit annoying is when all you see is extremes. You see extremes all around the board when it comes to women's basketball. And if you do not have an extreme take, if you don't have an extreme take and you are just saying what you actually think, not doing it for money, but you were saying it because you think it, and you're trying to get to a larger point. My point was saying that, yes, the numbers are not as good as 2024. And that is okay because net, we are higher up in terms of women's basketball. Our numbers are higher up in women's basketball. So I don't see the problem. I don't care for anybody. I don't. I say what I think, and it is what it is. Dog, look at the other channels. Look at the other channels and look what's happening. Look. Where do you go to get a variety of news? Okay? Where do you go? Where do you go? Where do you go to actually hear generally what's going on? Whatever. Anyway. FaZe, did you listen to what I said? Did I ever say it was only Caitlyn Clark? I did not. You heard what you wanted. You heard what you wanted. I never said that. Okay? Listen, guys. Okay, let's move on. So here is what Don Staley had to say. All right? Here is what Don Staley had to say. That was not what ESPN headline made you to believe.
In UConn in the last couple decades, you in the last decade have dominated the sport, playing well and winning championships. I remember you eloquently spoke last year about Caitlyn and how winning a title does not define a legacy, since you yourself in the Final Four many times and didn't win it. Just how
I hope this year goes the same way.
That's my question. I mean, you have a player in Paige who obviously is one of the best in the country right now and has had an injured play career, but really good, you know her well. Can you just talk about her, what she's meant to women's basketball, and even if you guys do win tomorrow, how that won't define her as not being maybe as good as others just because she didn't win a title, if that's what you believe?
I'm going to tread lightly with this. Here's the thing. Sometimes we create these narratives about great players. Caitlyn was one of them. Paige is one of them right now. And we tend to forget the narrative about what our kids have been able to do and going for their third in 4 years. So there's a sentimental narrative about Paige. Great freaking player. Mm-hmm. Like anybody would start their franchise with Paige because of her efficient way of playing, because of she's a winner, because she's cerebrally just knows the game, just has an aura about her. And she'll be the number one pick in the WNBA draft, and she'll be an Olympian. She will be all of those things, right? But when you put a narrative out there, everybody sees that, and it puts us at a disadvantage, whether you want to believe so or not. Officials see it. It's all over TikTok. It's all over SportsCenter. It's all over all of that. And she's a great player. Mm-hmm. But just because you're a great player doesn't mean you need to win a national championship to legitimize it. Paige is legit. She was legit from the moment she stepped, on this stage or prior to in Minnesota. Her career is legendary. She will leave a legacy at UConn, whether she wins one or not. So I just want to put that out there. Like I can't not address it because it's happening. Like it happened to us last year. Everything was about Caitlyn Clark and her legacy and her ability to win a national championship. Yet we were coming in this thing undefeated, doing something that's unprecedented at the time because it's hard. It's hard. And then we find ourselves back here in a similar situation. So, I want the sentiments to be about our players and what our players been able to do equally, because there's room to do both. Okay, we can raise Paige up because she deserves that. We can raise our players up because they deserve that, and that's not talked about enough. There's room for our game, like there's for some for Jose. There's room for our game, for all of us to be covered. Let's not choose one's history over another program's history. Let's not choose one player over another player's history, because we're all creating history for our game.
So that's what Don Staley had to say. There is room for both. There's room for both. That's the point that she was trying to make. Yes, Paige is awesome. And she wasn't even saying stop talking about the attention that Paige Beckers was getting. Her point was there is room to talk about the epic nature of how great Paige Beckers is, and how she may not, how she may not win a championship, and Dawn Staley would like her to finish college without winning a championship. And yet, because of course Dawn Staley is the opponent coach, so of course she does not want her to win the she doesn't want her to win a championship. But her point was you can do both. Women's basketball is not a zero-sum game. Because you talk about one aspect of the game does not mean you can't talk about other stuff. You can talk about it all. You can talk about it all because women's basketball is layered. It's layered. Okay? And I thought Dawn had a great response. And she literally started with, I'm going to tread carefully. Because she knows how people can kind of take certain stuff and make it into, whatever they want to make it into. And then we see this. The headline the tweet that they put out is Dawn Staley says narrative around Paige Beckers and her quest to win a title has overshadowed South Carolina's feats. She never said overshadowed. She said you can do both. That's what she said. But you write it like that, and then all of a sudden you get people who did not listen to the full quote, fully, the whole thing, the question, and then the full response. And then they respond and be like, Dawn's a hater. Dawn's this, Dawn's that, off of that. And so the elephant in the room, because the theme is elephant in the room, I talked about it for that first topic. I'm talking about it for this topic. The elephant in the room is that ratings and numbers are heavily built on divisiveness. ESPN has the rights to women's college basketball, to the tournament, right? They have full rights to it. They are trying to do whatever they can to create some create some animosity, create something negative to get people to watch. And their thoughts around that is, you know what? We need a good guy and a bad guy. We need to create something. We need to stir something up. Let's get some engagement in. And you write stuff like this that twists what she said. It twists out what she said. She didn't say that Paige Beckers' race quest to win a title overshadowed South Carolina. She said, no, you can do both. That's what she said. Okay? And there is a incentive to sway stuff a certain way to get a response from people. That's what it is. And also, guys, it felt like close to 50% of those questions in the Dawn Staley presser had to do with with UConn. It didn't even have to do with South Carolina. It had to do with UConn. At one point, I forgot the exact clip, the exact timestamp, because I would show it. But at one point, Don seemed a little frustrated with it. Like, man, y'all ain't got no questions about us. We South Carolina, right? You keep asking questions about UConn. And I thought that was a little bit funny. But I will say this. One thing that I actually have not seen anybody comment about this Dawn Staley presser is the fact that she said that Sia Fagan is going to be a lottery pick. So I was watching the press conference, and I heard that, and I was like, whoa, Sia Fagan's gonna be a lottery pick? Hey, Don Staley called it. Don Staley called it and said that Sia Fagan is going to be a lottery pick. And maybe someone has wrote about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it pop up about somebody writing about the fact that Sia Fagan is going to be a lottery pick according to Don Staley. I'm going to say this. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. At this point, anything can happen. I think the draft boards have completely gone crazy. And like there's no one there, like I haven't seen anything about that. And so it's one of those things where I don't know. Certain things are you know, certain narratives are put out there and whatnot. So anyway, thank you so much, GDM, for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Dwayne, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, love your channel. Stay on the positivity. I will. KB, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, this is for yesterday when someone asked you what coach you thought could help Olivia Miles improve her defense. We both said Don at the same time. LOL. Yeah, because Don could. Yeah. I think I said Don, Gino, Mark Campbell. I think that's what I said. And I just said, dang it. I'm trying to pause instead of saying, All right. Peggy, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, we should celebrate women's basketball as a whole. It's great. Facts. Facts on facts on facts. Didi in Tennessee, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, Quita, I get what you're saying. Women's basketball is on an upward trajectory. People can have their opinions, but what you're doing is stating facts and the reality that is for the game. Excellent coverage. I appreciate you, Didi. Appreciate you, Didi in Tennessee. Peggy, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, South Carolina should get its shine at their press conference, and I'm a Fever fan. Yeah, I appreciate your support and the ad that you're a Fever fan. Shout out to all the fans out there. What team y'all repping? Let me know. What team y'all repping? Who y'all repping? Y'all repping UConn? Y'all repping South Carolina? Y'all repping the Aces? Y'all repping Chicago? Right? Y'all repping the Fever? Who y'all repping? You know, y'all repping the Sparks? Like, who y'all repping? And Alan, I can't wait for the draft either. I'm gonna have a lot of content around the draft, and I'm gonna do a deeper dive into Sia Fagan, because Sia Fagan is a really good player. Like, she really is. And I think in these last couple of months, we have seen a lot more of how good of a player she really is. All right. Okay. Hey, now let's go to the final. All right. Let's go to the final thing. The final thing that I wanted to talk about in this live stream, and it relates to Hannah Hidalgo. So, guys, the thing to note is just a quick thing to note about these morning live streams. Tulip says audio. Does my audio sound okay? Let me know. Let me know. Does my audio sound okay? Also, huge shout out to Peggy, who made 4 months of being a channel member. Appreciate you. Okay. All right. Looks like my audio is good now. Thank you. All right. So a quick note about the way I do my titles and thumbnails for these live streams. For these morning live streams, I will almost always have a theme. I will always have a theme for the live stream that usually encompasses just about everything I'm talking about in the live stream, with the exception of like when there's an important game. Like, for example, today's theme was elephant in the room. Okay? elephant in the room. That was a theme for today's stream. And yes, initially I started off talking about the game that was happening today, because it's happening today, right? And that didn't actually fit with the theme. There's no elephant in the room between, going in UConn versus South Carolina. That was not a part of the theme. But all the other stories after that were a part of the theme. Like the reason why I put Caitlyn on the thumbnail is because we just had that full conversation about numbers and ratings and all that good stuff, talking about some, in my opinion, elephants in the room that people aren't talking about. All right. And then the whole Dawn Staley, the reason why I put Dawn Staley on there is because there was an elephant in the room that I want to talk about when it comes to the reason why certain narratives get pushed is because of ratings, of clicks and views. And ultimately, even the full-fledged supporter of women's basketball also gets into it as well, right? And so we just had that conversation. Now, let's move on to talk about Hannah Hidalgo. All right? And that's why Hannah Hidalgo is in the stream. All right? So, this was a letter that Hannah Hidalgo penned on Players Tribune, and it went out yesterday. So, if y'all don't know, Players Tribune is a fantastic place. Like, I actually really like to read what folks are saying. I really love to read what folks are saying. Like, you see men's basketball players, women's basketball players, tennis players, like everybody is writing stuff in Players Tribune. And it's a great way to hear specifically from the player. And Hannah Hidalgo posted on the Players Tribune yesterday, and she was basically reiterating the fact that she is fully committed to the University of Notre Dame. The sort of title of it was "Created a Monster." And guys, I'm gonna have to say, I loved the article. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great letter to just everybody in general. Right? And again, I'm saying again. I really got to fix that. So Hannah Hidalgo, one, she is a, Dragon Ball Z fan? And so that's something I didn't know. We learned that about Hannah Hidalgo, and I thought that was kind of fun. The fact that she is a Dragon Ball Z fan, and how she goes, Super Saiyan, and whatnot. So anyway, she talked about her competitive nature. She talked about her, growing up with 4 brothers. Talked about her, enjoyment of Dragon Ball Z and sort of like going in that Super Saiyan state, right? She talked about her fierce competitive drive and how she's had that from a young age. And how she's been someone who has shaped her identity in women's basketball. Right? She is someone who is crazy determined and really wants to do all she can when it comes to playing women's basketball. She talked about her decision to go to Notre Dame and how Notre Dame was kind of viewed as maybe a little bit of a risk of a different choice because the school was very prominent in football. And even though they do have a basketball legacy, it was, and still, and in a lot of ways is, primarily a football culture at Notre Dame. And for Hannah, she thought that this was a great opportunity to, build on the awesome legacy and community that Notre Dame has. It was an opportunity to just enjoy what Notre Dame had to offer and when it comes to their legacy and build on that and make Notre Dame into not just a football culture, but also a basketball culture as well. And she was like, hey, people are saying, hey, you're taking the risk. You're taking a risk by going to Notre Dame because it's football school. But no, she looked at Neil Ivey, and seemingly she has a great relationship with Neil Ivey. And honestly, from what I have seen from even the players who have entered the transfer portal and all this other stuff, players love Niele. They absolutely love Niele. And this was an opportunity for Hannah to join Niele and do something very, very special. Right? More of rebuild, FM, more of rebuild. Because they haven't been to a championship game since Niele took over, right? This was an opportunity to make something great. Yes, Notre Dame has a legacy. It's awesome. Maybe one day I'll go through the full legacy of Notre Dame because I think it's really great. Anyway, let's continue on. Hannah talked about her struggles. She talked about the external pressures that she has felt since going to college. She talked about her getting off of social media. Y'all remember that? She was off social media for a while. She's back on now, but she was off for a while. And she talked about feeling overwhelmed and needing to get some perspective. And she talked about how she relied so much on her faith, her teammates, her coach, the Notre Dame community to kind of help her regain focus. Also, elephant in the room, she talked about, she directly acknowledged her previous social media controversy, right? Where she reshared a post and there was a whole bunch of stuff that came out after that where people were really mad and people, called her homophobic and said all this other stuff. And then you've seen a ton of social media posts negatively about Hannah Hidalgo around that. We've seen people show up to games with posters and like all this other stuff. And Hannah Hidalgo has addressed it. And I don't think she had addressed it in the past. At least I hadn't seen her address it in the past. But she clarified that her intention was not to hurt anyone and that she is not homophobic. She expressed regret for posting what she posted and causing pain and whatnot for other people. And she said that she loves and respects everybody. Now that she has penned that letter, now that she has said what she had to say, she gave a heartfelt talk around her journey in women's basketball. She talked about that controversial thing, and now she is ready for the future of Notre Dame women's basketball. While you've seen a lot of people leave Notre Dame, she has reiterated that she's back and she's ready. And she is all too ready to make some stuff happen with the Fighting Irish. And I thought this was a great letter. I thought this was awesome. I thought this was a fun... And also, she said she started writing this a long time ago. After the TCU loss, she had a little bit more time on her hands to kind of think about it and think about stuff. And she's ready to go for the offseason. She's ready to go for next year. She knows the things that she has to work on, and she's ready to do it. She is absolutely ready to do it, and I think that's great. Now, I'm going to say this. Hannah didn't have to write what she wrote. And she didn't have to write or say anything, but she did. And she addressed it. She wants to move on. And we'll see if everybody allows her to move on or if not. But one thing's for sure is I can guarantee you Notre Dame is rebuilding. Yes, Notre Dame. I'm going to have a separate stream about Notre Dame and what they're doing in the transfer portal, but they're rebuilding. And I guarantee you we're going to see some really, really big names likely come to Notre Dame in the next couple of weeks. I'm just saying. I am just saying. So that is it. That is what I wanted to talk about. That is the stream. We talked about quite a bit of stuff. Y'all make up y'all own mind about what y'all think about all this stuff. But just wanted to give y'all some bits of information. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. And guys, we've talked about everything. Talked about everything we needed to talk about. And Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. Oh, but also, guys, read it. I'm gonna let me post a link to the Players Tribune article letter. It's not behind a story wall. So you all can and should actually read it. All right? Don't take my abridged version only. Read it. It takes maybe 10 minutes to read. Read it. Okay? All right. Y'all have a good one. I got to go to church. I am cutting it close. Guys. I will see y'all later. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy the championship game that's happening today. It's going to be pretty awesome. I hope y'all are excited about it. And guys, remember, I will not be live for the game. I have to work. However, this evening, we will talk through it. Okay. We will have a live stream and we'll talk through it. Okay. All right. Sorry. We got a whole bunch of super chats. Let me do these real quick. Let me do these real quick. My bad. Sorry about this, guys. I missed your super chats. Fry5 says, when will you be a full-time analyst and not have to go to work? Soon, I hope. The way I make content and the content I talk about and the way I do certain stuff, it does not bring, it's not built to bring in a lot of money. So like, I could do certain stuff that would get me a lot of money, but I don't, because I cover the sport the way I think the sport needs to be covered. And so maybe it's gonna take probably a couple more years, if that, if it ever happens. Like seriously, because the way I cover this stuff, the way I do certain stuff, it's not necessarily built to make money in a lot of it. So we'll see. But don't expect it anytime soon. I don't think I'm leaving work anytime soon. Maybe a couple years. We'll see. Being up. And also, I actually really like my job. I like the people I work with, which is great. Being up says, I am excited for a game of two legendary coaches with two teams that play solid ball. Hype may be on buckets, but UConn plays as a team. Facts. GDM, thank you so much for the super chat, says, go Pack. Go Pack Go. Should Fulwiley transfer to get paid? If all she cares about is money, then yeah, sure, I guess. But clearly that's not all she cares about. I don't think Malaysia should transfer, but who knows? She can do whatever she wants. She can do whatever she wants. Repeat to aka Michael, thank you so much for the super chat, says, Miles out here liking posts calling Hannah a fake Christian and bad teammate. Who we believe? ? Truly the 6 transfers or the 1 remaining? Well, one thing that we don't know as to why specifically the rest of them are transferring, which I'm going to have a separate stream. I'm not going to go into Notre Dame right now. I'm going to have a separate stream about Notre Dame. Similar to how I did with USC yesterday, I'm going to do a separate stream specifically about Notre Dame. We're going to talk about it. Okay. Peggy, thanks so much for the super chat, says, my point being a Fever fan, it was twisted that South Carolina should get a press conference about their team as the main subject. They should. But ultimately, this is a press conference, so anyone can ask any question that they want, and we'll ultimately see. But yeah. I do agree with your sentiments, though. All right, thank you so much. Also, watch the Don Staley press conference. Watch the Gino Auriemma press conference to kind of get you hype for the game. All right, appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have a great day. Go to church, please. Go to church. Still early enough. It's still early enough so y'all can rock out somewhere. Anyway, y'all have a good day. I love y'all. Most importantly, guys, Jesus loves you, and he wants a relationship with you. Guys, I will see y'all soon. Well, not soon. I see y'all this evening. Okay? Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.